Everybody will find a seat. We can get started. Please find a seat.
Good morning, everyone. I feel like we should do calisthenics or something first. We are ready to begin, and the first thing we'll do is call on Laura for our invocation.
This will be short because we really haven't prayed much today yet, have we? All right, friends. Spirit of life and love who infuses us in every moment together, you are not done with us yet. Breathe into the ashes of this age we are living. Ignite our imaginations and our joy. Steady our courage. Help us to dream beyond what we've inherited and live toward what we dare to envision together. In Jesus' name and in all the names of love, we pray and say, Amen.
The annual meeting of the First Congregational Church of Old Lyme is hereby called on this 8th day of February 2026, held in the Meeting House at 2 Ferry Road, Old Lyme, Connecticut. The purpose of the meeting shall be to receive the reports of the ministers, boards, and committees, and the church officers for the year 2025, to approve the church budget for the year 2026, to receive and approve the report of the nominating committee, to elect officers and board members for the coming year, to conduct such other old or new business as shall properly come before the meeting. Whereas the notices of this meeting have been properly announced at worship services, posted in the church, and weekly emails and bulletins to the congregation, and whereas there is present a quorum of at least 40 church members, the meeting may now officially proceed.
Thank you, Joni. It occurred to me this morning that the tradition of the annual meeting must have been at one point where people arrived in perhaps in wagons, maybe a few horses to get to the meeting spot. And today, thank you for braving the cold and incredibly frigid weather to carry on this wonderful tradition that we have. So first we have on the agenda the approval of the minutes. Yes.
I move to waive the reading of the 2025 January annual meeting minutes.
Since we've had that opportunity to review them, we have a motion to waive. Do we have a second right here from Jim? And all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Okay. Next we have reports of the church officers, boards, and committees. And one of the things that I think we have to be so proud of, captured just a bit in the photos that are on the cover are the just wide variety of things that we are engaged in, both fun, prayerful, thoughtful, action-oriented, and many others. And it takes all of us and many people who are not even here today to make this work. And we should be all justly proud of that work. And so we'll hear from each group. Full report is in the program. But first, we have the minister's report. Steve.
Well, hi again, everybody. I want to open the reflections I have for the annual meeting with a couple of verses, one verse actually, from the prophet Isaiah. And what he says is, "You will be like a hiding place from the wind, a covert from the tempest, like streams of water in a dry place, like the shade of a great rock in a weary land." And I don't know what it has felt like for all of you, but from the conversations I've been having with a lot of people in my orbit lately, there seems to be an extraordinary sense of unease and disquiet that it seems like a lot of folks are feeling these days. And you don't need me to enumerate the reasons here. But I think that that feeling of disquiet is one of the reasons that we need faith communities like this one, now more than ever. As in the passage from Isaiah, we need places in which we can shelter from the wind, quite literally, on a day like today. And we need those great rocks which can provide shade in a weary land. And I actually believe that's what faith can provide right now. And I believe it's what FCCOL can be and what it indeed is. So a great rabbi once said that we, are not responsible to save the world, but neither are we, free to desist from the work. And I think that's very much true for all of us. We have thrown ourselves into the work of helping the world this year as best we can, maybe more than ever. Here are a few of the things that we've done together. Our boards and our church members read the South African Kairos document together. We hosted a vigil and a fundraiser to help our friends at Iris. We established a newly revived immigration outreach ministry that has supported vulnerable families. We began making visits to those detained in prisons by ICE to get them legal assistance. Laura went to 2 of those facilities just 2 days ago. Many of our members have attended No Kings protests. We've continued our support group for trans individuals and their families. We have made sure our food pantry was well stocked with food and volunteers. We have responded to requests for help from the minister's discretionary fund, helping to pay the bills that keep heat in the house, gas in the car, and food in the refrigerator. We have strengthened our bonds with other area churches in an effort to build a powerful justice network in this region. We did what was in our power to respond to the needs around us. But I also think I want us to affirm that none of that would have been possible without the ordinary work that we do Sunday by Sunday as a faith community. I think that without our regular pattern of worship and of liturgy and of music making and of prayer and of preaching and of Bible study and sacraments and Sunday school, we would wind up becoming yet one more social service agency, yet one more advocacy group. And I think those are necessary components of faith, but they all flow out of what we do here every Sunday morning. These are the things that keep us grounded. These are the things that provide us a sense of stability. These are the things that give us a sense of shelter and of shade for all of us in these troubling days. And so I can't emphasize the importance of our weekly gatherings throughout this past year, to say nothing of all the other times that we've gathered in this space to pray or to mourn or to celebrate. That's an essential part of who we are as a church. I also want to say that visiting with one another helps to keep us rooted and grounded in relationship. And so the more often that we are meeting one another casually for coffee or for a meal, the more often we are finding ways to go for walks together, the more often we are finding ways to visit one another when we're sick, the more often we are reaching out by phone or by text, the better. These are essential pieces of what it means to stay human right now. Let me offer this as well. I am really grateful for all of the insights that have emerged as a result of our work with Convergence over the past year and change now. John Kiker and Elizabeth Nocera have been shepherding that project along with Bob McCracken and a host of others, but I think it's helped to energize and to strengthen this community as we lean into these challenges that are before us and that are going to continue to be before us. It allows us to lean into those challenges with confidence and assurance. So let me just close my comments here by changing the verb tenses in that passage from Isaiah from the future tense to the present tense, because they convey what I believe is true of this community. You are a hiding place from the wind. You are a covert from the tempest. You are a stream of water in a dry place. You are the shade of a great rock in a weary, weary land. If the next year is anything like this past one, we'll have work to do. But I want you to know that I personally am so thankful to be a part of a community such as this one. And I am so thankful to be able to serve with colleagues, ministerial colleagues, and with a staff such as I have in this place. So thank you to my friends on the staff, my ministerial colleagues. It's good to be with you. But it's good to be with all of you. This is a humanizing process to do what we do together. So it's good to be together once again in this place. I hope you feel the same.
Once again, Joni May, do you have our church clerk report? Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm new at this. Sorry.
Nothing personal. But it's a reminder to be short. I know, Bill.
Thank you very much.
So when I wrote this report, which is one of the worst reports to write, it's like having to do your taxes, except it is a more joyful thing because of trying to summarize a year in the life of our church together is rather impossible. So I was going to say something about the pictures too, that they form such a quilt of our journey together, a quilt of grace and love and joy, as well as sharing the difficulties of this time together and walking with our neighbors here and far away. You know, but I had this Alice Walker quote in my heart this fall, and that she wrote that surely the earth can be saved by all the people who insist on love. And as I was writing this report, remembering again how each and every one of you teaches me, reminds me to be an insister on love, an insister on love, to be insistent about dignity for one another, to be insistent about helping get groceries for one another, to be insistent about the Beatitudes and showing up for one another, especially those among us who are most demoralized and in need of friendship and love. So what I really want to say, because you can read my report, is thank you for teaching me each and every day how to be an insister on love in this world, especially at this time. One other quick story. Last night was the 4th Hello Dolly in as many days. Many of us were there. We have, as Steve mentioned, about 12 of our high schoolers from our youth group were in the show or managing the show or playing for the show. And the joy that each and every one of them emanated in their role, whether it was as a set designer or a crew or playing the drums or singing on the stage. And I just thought that they are the young leaders of tomorrow and the future of the world that we're all working on together, each and every one of them. And just feeling so proud on behalf of all of us that we get to spend some time with them and learn from them, and also have a chance, as you all do, to mentor them along the way. So anyway, thank you to each and every one of you. And I love you all. And it's good to be, as Steve says, in this place together. Amen.
And Carlene. Thank you.
You can surely read the details of my report at your leisure. I'll just summarize by saying that the mission outreach of the church is remarkable. I'm grateful to Dale Bernardoni for her leadership as chairperson of the Board of Missions and for all who serve on that board. But it is really the volunteer spirit of so many of you and the generosity of your financial support that makes all this outreach possible. I feel that missions is in many ways the engine that powers us forward. I also work with the Stewardship Board throughout the year, trying to support the system that thanks everyone for their generosity. During 2025, as you'll see on page 27 of the annual report, this congregation is responsible for over $314,000. $314,000, did I say that right? That moved out and across the world in a concerted effort toward equity and justice. We can all be very proud of that. Pastoral care remains one of my focuses, as it is for all three of us as ministers. Please, each of you, continue to help us by letting us know of someone who might need help, and also being sure that we know how to find you. What is your address? What is your cell phone number? What is your email? Keep that up to date. I'd like to conclude by saying this about pastoral care at this church. You, as a congregation, do a remarkable job of caring for one another. I have seen that ministry embodied in this past year as you've reached out to support me during some unforeseen challenges in my own life. You are the fabric of compassion and authentic concern that makes each of our lives richer. I'm grateful to work closely with Steve and Laura on a ministry team that truly enjoys a collaborative partnership. We face challenges and we face them together creatively. So thank you all for your ministry.
Thank you, Carlene. Thank you, all of our ministers. We are indeed fortunate. Now, Joni.
The church clerk's report is on page 51, and I can be very short because it speaks for itself. It's been a very normal year, nothing remarkable to report. We've held steady despite national trends, which is the good news. And I always point out that we do transfer a certain number of people to an inactive status every year with the minister's input, just to keep our roles realistic and strong so we know who we are. And I think that's all I have. Anyone has any questions? That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. And now for our Board of Deacons, Allison Hine and Stephanie Webster.
The work of the deacons is really to assist the ministers in the spiritual programming of the church. Most of our responsibilities include helping in worship service, greeting people, serving communion, collection of offering, those pieces, and we carried out those responsibilities this year.
Some of the things that we accomplished earlier in the year were the downstairs bathrooms were painted and spruced up, and new signs downstairs and up. We have been discussing new ways to engage members to meet each other and new members to become part of the congregation. Some of our suggestions coming forward are name tags or small dinner groups. So those are things we're working on in the future. We also have been helping the ministers with outreach and visiting people who cannot come to church, and we're talking about perhaps serving communion to those people. We also have talked about doing something to help Jill with the flowers, because we have beautiful flowers and we want to continue, but we need more support. And the last is, if you haven't seen the narthex, it's a work in progress, but man, it's been painted, the stairwells have been painted, and maybe you haven't noticed, but you must notice. That's it.
Thank you. And Christine Harrington on our immigration assistance, which is new this year.
Hello. So I'm having Carolyn Hartsfield come up too, because she's had a little rough time of it for a while and has been out of commission, but she's back today for the first time. And we do work together, so I didn't want anyone to think it was just about me. So the immigration ministry began after Steve gave that sermon back in March, I think it was, and talked about the terrible things that were beginning to happen. Of course, I'm not going to review that. We all know what's going on. Mostly, and I wrote a very long report, was a little bit reprimanded for it, but anyway, I'm not going to read any of that stuff. But mostly, Carolyn and I have been working with a statewide interfaith ministry group that is creating the framework for support for our immigrant neighbors who are in need of groceries or rides to medical appointments or accompaniment to court hearings. Also, our clergy have all gone and done prison visits with the immigration lawyer, and also some of our volunteers who are able to speak Spanish or who are bilingual in some way. And so, by the way, speaking of the volunteers, on that first day of Steve's sermon when he asked for volunteers, I was shocked and amazed that 71 people signed up and to volunteer, to help. And that, for me, and I probably speak for Carolyn too, is what is so amazing about this community, is that you all are so committed to helping people who need your help. And that, boy, that's just not going to make it. But it is really very special, and that gives me hope for the world. So, there's a lot I was going to say, and I'm not going to. The last thing I will say, though, is that we haven't had as much need in our specific area as other areas of our state, but that is probably coming. And the good news is we have our framework in place, and we have our volunteers, and we're ready to go. And so that's really great. And it feels a little bit like a grain of sand that we're doing, that this is just a grain of sand, but that grain of sand does touch people, and so it does matter. And so that's what keeps us going so far. So thank you very much.
Thank you. An emerging and unfortunately emerging group. For our Board of Stewardship, Jim Matchelat.
Good morning. The Board of Stewardship report is on page 40. The Board of Stewardship, for those of you that may not be familiar with the board, although you all hear from us probably more than once, our assignment is to invite participation in the annual pledging campaign. We are responsible in our efforts for about 70% of the board's, of the church's budget, which provides investment, all of us in the congregation that respond to the invitations, permit the investment, considerable investment that the church makes in worship, in Christian education, in music, pastoral care, in mission, both in terms of mission activities worldwide as well as our community outreach. The board is assisted significantly by the ministers and by Bob McCracken and Joni May and Koska in the office. We would not be able to conduct our operations without their vital support. The institutional knowledge that this group has enables a rotating board of stewardship to initiate and sustain an effective pattern of operation. We're very grateful that the congregation defined as both members and friends, have been so incredibly generous and responsive to the Board of Stewardship's campaigns. Over the last several years, we've been able, through the generosity of the congregation, to increase the average pledge fairly significantly. We're about 40% over where we were in 2018 in terms of the average pledge. So the generosity of our community is considerable, and the Board of Stewardship is considerably grateful for that generosity. I'd like to say in closing that 3 of the members of the Board of Stewardship will be rotating off this year. Harvey Beeman, Andy Sandberg, and I will be rotating off. There'll be 3 fresh, energetic members joining with new visions and new aspirations, and they will be joining the 6 members that will be continuing on. And so the Board of Stewardship has a continuity But I, again, want to say that it's very, very important to the effectiveness of the group, of the Board of Stewardship, that we're able to harvest the lessons learned and the institutional knowledge that's represented by ministers Bob McCracken, Joni May, and are an amazing team to be a part of. So that summarizes the highlights of my report. Again, it's on page 40. Excuse me, if there are any questions, I'd be happy to entertain them. Has anybody not heard from us? Thank you.
Thank you. For the convergence and communication updates, John Kiker. Right, just John.
Hello, everyone. I only have 4 pages. Hope that's okay. I'm going to attempt something that is either very ambitious or very foolish, which is to combine 2 substantial reports, page 14, 15, and 50, into a 4 minutes, right? 4 minutes? Okay. That means taking roughly a year of thoughtful, careful, and occasionally spreadsheet-heavy Google Doc intensive work and squeezing it into something just a bit longer than a coffee break. I promise to move quickly and breathe only when necessary. First, I want to recognize Elizabeth Nocera, my partner in crime, my co-chair in this work. Elizabeth was a true partner. She was steady, thoughtful, and deeply committed. Elizabeth, thank you so much. The task force benefited enormously from her leadership and judgment, and I'm grateful to have shared this work with her. Let me start first with the convergence work, because the actions of the FCCOL Future Task Force and convergence set up the foundation that followed for communications and ultimately the website work. Many of you heard from Greg last week, so I'm just a quick few points. The first year of convergence work focused almost entirely on listening. Through a congregational survey, adult forums, interviews, focus groups with members and families, LGBTQIA plus members, and vision workshops focused on our future. Yes, I'm smiling, Dad. That listening mattered. From it came not a vague vision statement, but 5 realistic and achievable initiatives. Continuous stewardship, planning for a capital campaign, approaches to attracting and integrating members, improving how we communicate with the broader community, and developing a long-term staffing plan. These initiatives are deeply connected. Stewardship and capital planning support sustainability. New members support vitality. Staffing supports capacity. And communications, well, it touches it all. Under continuous stewardship, we set a $650,000 stretch goal, streaks in messaging across newsletters, weekly emails, added testimonials, and worked closely with the trustees and the communications committee to keep the message consistent and authentic. Under the capital campaign initiative, a committee has been formed, Horizons has been contacted, and conversations are underway about feasibility and next steps. Work on new members' integration and long-term staffing continues. Which brings me to the initiative most closely connected to the communications work is the website. The website work came directly out of the convergence process, and the conclusion is that how we tell our story, who we are, what we believe, and why we exist matters now more than ever. It's important to say clearly that the new website is still in its infant stages. The new homepage has just met the new design, so we'll focus on copy in February and build out the website in March. This is early, careful work, and it's being approached thoughtfully and deliberately. I want to pause and recognize the Communications Committee, Allison Hine, Mary Gardner Coppola, Beth Hamilton, Elizabeth, Bob, and myself for a year that included both big strategic thinking and a great deal of detail behind the scenes work. Again, one of those priorities was unmistakable. The website needed a complete rethink. We issued RFPs, evaluated proposals, and settled on Small Good, a firm out of Chicago as our communications partner. From there, the work focused on aligning language, design, and values around what we heard through the convergence work, which is we are a church that is immersive, inclusive, grounded in love, and committed to justice, community, and transformation. Once the website and branding work is completed, the next phase will be developing a comprehensive social media strategy for the church. That work will build directly on the new messaging and visual identity, and will support consistent, thoughtful, and sustainable engagement by hiring someone for part-time staffing. So yes, this has been a lot of work, but none of it happened in isolation. The convergence work gave us clarity. Communications is helping translate that clarity into language, design, and presence. And the website will be one of the first visible expressions of a thoughtful and hopeful strategic process. I'm going to close with gratitude to Convergence, especially Greg Carlson, the FCCOL Strategic Future Task Force, the Communications Committee, the many congregation members who gave their time and trust to this work, and most importantly, to the ministers. And regarding our ministers, the convergence process wasn't always easy, especially when expectations were high and the work was already demanding. Our ministers stood up, they stood strong, they stayed at the table and helped shape this work in meaningful ways. Thank you. Any questions? Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, John. Delivered as promised. All right, there was a lot of work that was done there, and Elizabeth, thank you also for your leadership. Okay, Board of Youth Education. Jolene, are you doing that? Thank you.
Hi. So I'd actually like to open with gratitude. Thank you so much, everyone, for all of your support that goes towards the youth programming and the Pilgrim Fellowship programming and the youth education. So as you all know, we have a robust program, and I'll just let you know that it's on, our report is on page 41, and I'm just going to go over a couple things because you're able to read it. But starting in the spring of 2025, we experienced Sharing Humanity Night. In April, we did a spring pansies sale for the Heifer International. The youth group raised money for that, and it was really great. In May, we did 2 projects, cleaning the witness stones and a beach cleanup at White Sands Beach. I'd like to give a big thank you to Gavin for his help in directing our Christmas pageant and our Children's Sunday, which is the bookend to our academic year. And then in June of this past year, we all took our youth group and families to South Dakota to celebrate our 20-year partnership with Greengrass and the Lakota tribe. In this academic year, our curriculum is called Let Justice Roll Down, Crossing Boundaries to Find Each Other, and the teachers and students are really taking to the message, and everyone's really enjoying it. We did have a Christmas pageant this year that was really great. I thought it was really great and really funny. I hope you guys all enjoyed it too. Let me see what else. So our youth group also served at the New London Community Meal Center, and we cooked chili and cornbread and everything and served over 135 people, which was really great. We also do a breakfast run every year, and this year we were able to go into New York, serve breakfast, hand out clothes and jackets to those in need, and then we were able to go with everyone to the Ellis Island, which was really a great day. We also do a beach cleanup, and this year Laura has taken initiative and she has started the Cup of Joe Cafe, where our youth group, on the first Saturday of every month, we serve coffee and donuts to the people that come to our food pantry. And that's really, really great opportunity, and we've really loved it and enjoyed it. So we are very grateful to the Board of Youth Ed Committee, all of the families and the teachers. And I'd really like to say that I'm really grateful to you, Laura, for all of your support and everything in the program. So I think the most important thing to say is that our students know how beloved they are to all of us here at FCCOL. And we are grateful for your collective mentorship and the intergenerational spirit that keeps us all in friendship and grace. So thank you all.
Thank you. It's really, really important work that's been done so well. For the adult education, Don Gonsi.
Thank you. Thank you, Bill. I'm determined not to lose my scarf this morning, so I wear it wherever I go. I have a report on page 40. It's incredibly short. And but I want to spend a few minutes just thanking people for the Adult Forum projects. One to Claire Matthews, who, like me, is ending a 3-year term. Claire developed several topics for 2025, and she's still working on another one going forward. So thank you, Claire. Where are you? Missing. Oh, oh thank you. Want to thank Laura also as being a conduit for topics coming from the ministry, and she wins the award for the most topics brought forward in 2025. Incredibly supportive, Laura. And one more thank you for Tom Sherrod. Tom does a lot of great things, interesting things for this church, and may not be acknowledged elsewhere, so I'll tuck it into Adult Forum, but he developed several potluck suppers, the moth storytelling and so forth. So Tom, wherever you are, thank you. I'm having trouble finding people this morning. And he sings too, by the way. And I think I mentioned this last year that if people have topics to bring forward to the church, you're encouraged to do that. And grassroots topics are always the most interesting. So please do that. Otherwise, I just thank everyone for helping us in the program. Thank you.
Thanks, Don. We are fortunate to have such a wide variety of programs available to us on a regular basis. Board of Missions, Dale Bernardoni.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dale Bernardoni. I'm the chair of the Board of Missions. I have the privilege of working with this group of individuals. We're the group of members from the congregation who are charged with distributing the funds raised by the church in support of the missions of numerous local, regional, national, and international benevolences. This past year, our board has consisted of Mariette Brown as our secretary, Kathy Gentry, John Higgins, Connie Johansson, Carol Keys, Wendy Knight, Mary Jo Shettle, Sandy Sims, Susan Beeman as our deacons representative, and Carlene as our very much revered minister advisor. Sadly, a few months ago, Wendy Knight passed away. Kathy Gentry and Susan Beeman's tenures have expired and they'll be leaving our board. We're grateful for their time and their guidance. We anticipate that there will be 2 new members being added to our missions board as a result of today's election. Please know that we take the responsibility of spending your money and distributing it very seriously. With unanticipated funding cuts from governmental agencies and growing needs of their clients, it has been a very challenging year. As a result, in 2025, the missions board members personally met with the executive directors from the majority of the Greater New London area agencies at their service sites to receive information about the current programs and their anticipated future needs. This information drove our deliberations about the distribution of the FCCOL funds. As a board, we determined that we should focus our expenditures on organizations that provide housing and food for individuals in need. In order to keep you informed about our actions, we submitted articles to the monthly newsletter detailing information acquired about the agency's current accomplishments and their anticipated needs. We included stories about Fresh New London, street side, raised vegetable gardens, families staying at the Covenant House that are given temporary housing and shelter, and guidance for employment opportunities. We also provided a report given about the conditions and the service that is offered by the Niantic Women's Prison Group. Additionally, we continue to provide funding for long-standing national and international benevolences, such as Greengrass, the Crosby Fund for Haitian Education, and the Israel and Palestine causes. The spreadsheet of the Board of Missions' overall 2025 expenditures on your behalf is included in the annual report on pages 24 and 25. Recently, in a meeting with Greg Carlson, the facilitator for the Convergence, we were encouraged to continue to focus our efforts supporting local benevolences. In the coming year, in addition to visiting agencies, we hope to join them. We, of course, already assist with making and serving meals at Dine, formerly known as the New London Soup Kitchen. The suggestion was made to consider joining some of the gardening groups during their planting season, helping with delivering meals, joining efforts to care for interior and exterior maintenance of locations such as the House for Veterans, and possibly even participating in a Habitat for Humanity build if available. As we identify locations for physical support, we hope to engage our high school youth in joining our efforts. It is critically important for our church to grow from within to continue this extraordinary community. Finally, we've begun contemplating ways to directly connect. This is news to a lot of people in the room. I haven't talked about this openly, but to directly connect with the White Elephant sale by making some of the items left at the end of the sale available at no cost to our benevolences who are in need of clothing, bedding, books, and kitchen utensils, and possibly even small furniture. Thoughts of facilitating this potential process are still in their beginning stages, but it makes sense that in addition to sharing funds with these agencies and giving them our time, that if there in fact are materials left over at the end of the White Elephant sale, that we should make them available to assist with meeting their needs. I began my comments by recognizing the members of the 25 and 26 Board of Missions. I'm going to continue with the thought that Carleen shared a few minutes ago. Our work is made possible because of all of you. Virtually every member in this congregation contributes in some way. If I were to ask the members of the Benevolent Society, the participants in the White Elephant sale, the donors to the Diaper Bank and the Crosby Fund, and the list goes on and on, if I were to ask them to all stand, virtually everyone in this room would be standing. It is because of your generosity, your effort, and your funding that we're able to carry out the mission of this church. We're humbled and thankful for your extraordinary support. I'd like to leave you with one thought, an image that propels me forward. This past year, Mariette Brown and I made a visit to the Covenant House, which is located in New London. It's in a building that's a brick building that's 2 stories high. It has also a floor in the basement. And it provides temporary housing for young women with children who need a place to stay and need guidance. And so they do, in fact, get guidance with finding homes and also finding employment. There are also single men, single unhoused men who are live on the top floor of the building. As we approached the building, I noticed a young girl. She was probably 3 or 4 years old, standing at the window, watching us come into their space. While we were given a tour by the executive director, I could see little glimpses of this young girl following us about the building and paying attention to what we were talking about. When we left, I looked back at that window again, and there she was, smiling and waving to us, as if to say, "Thank you for coming, friends. I hope to see you again." And she will. Thank you.
Thank you for helping to make that vital work a reality. The South Lyme Union Chapel, unfortunately, we don't have a representative today. You can read their report on page 11. And for should be the Benevolent Society report, Jane is unable to be here. Rick Strickart will speak.
Thanks, Bill. As the currently the only male member of the former Ladies Benevolent Society, I get to announce that we are no longer the Ladies Benevolent Society. We, after much discussion, this is something that we've been toying with for quite a while, but we finally came to we finally realized we had to do something about this. And after much discussion, we did decide to try to make the name more inclusive. We bantered around a number of names, and it just seemed to be so much easier just to remove the word ladies. So we are now the TBS, the Benevolent Society, LBS. We had a very active year. We ran 6 luncheons. Those will be starting up again in March. We hosted the Haitian dinner, provided food for the New London Soup Kitchen, and of course the 2 biggies. We had the White Elephant Sale, which amazingly, best ever, net $104,000. And then ran the Elephants in Winter Sale, which again, best ever, netted just under $9,500. We did very well this year. Now, I don't want to call it our budget. I guess the best way to put it, if you look on page 38, you will see the distribution of, what the distribution of funds will be for this coming year, 2026. Because we did so well with our sales, we were able to up our benevolence by $14,000, which we thought was very, very good. And at the end of 2025, we approved distribution of $35,000 to local community organizations, because, as Dale said, the need is just outstanding at this point. So we will continue to do this. We'll look forward to the White Elephant Sale this year, and we'll see what happens. Thanks very much.
Thanks so much, Rick. And for our Board of Trustees, already moving toward the podium is Ross Higgins.
Hi. I need to begin with a public service announcement. If by any chance you received an email from me with a link to an invitation, don't click on it. I did not invite you to the Super Bowl party. My email was hacked, and if you click on the link, you will also be hacked. So just a word of caution. Oh, sorry. Is that better? As you may know, the Board of Trustees is comprised of 9 elected members, as well as 4 committee chairs, the church treasurer, and the ministers. The board is primarily charged with overseeing the financial matters of the church and with managing the care and feeding of the church's properties. Please take the time to read the full report in the annual report. Pay attention to the financial statements because they'll give you a clear understanding of where the revenue comes from and how the money goes out the door. Please, too, read the details of the work of the committees that the board oversees. I feel like, in keeping with the award season, I have a long list of thank yous, but it feels appropriate. First, to thank my fellow trustees for your presence and your enthusiastic participation. Please know that you are appreciated for your service. I have a few more shout outs to the committee chairs and the committee members for the extraordinary work accomplished in 2025. Our endowment fund experienced significant growth and closed the year at $3,980,000 under the watchful eye first of Henry May and then his successor, Harvey Beeman. You'll hear more about that from Bob, I'm sure. Under the professional direction of Russell Leonard and the Property Committee, we planned and executed numerous physical projects. Some you will have noticed, some are not so obvious repair and maintenance projects. We are fortunate to have Russell as our chief steward, and fortunate too to have Sean McCarty, church sexton, providing the day-to-day maintenance and heavy lifting that keeps the place humming. This year, the board is especially grateful to the Personnel Committee, headed by Greg Hack, for tackling the enormous job of updating our personnel manual. We also owe a special thank you to congregation member Dan Halsberg and his law firm Baker Botts for their gift of pro bono legal services that were invaluable as we undertook this project. And a big time shout out, you've heard lots about this before, but I don't think it can be repeated frequently enough. Big time shout out to John Kiker, Elizabeth Nocera, and the Communications Committee for their work on the strategic planning process. We all know there's more work to be done, but we are poised to move forward on the next steps. No list of hardworking contributors would be complete without Bob Kraken's name. Thanks, Bob, for all you do. And a final recognition to our wise ministers who inspire the board and all of us to think big, be bold, and take on new challenges. With their guidance, we continue to grow spiritually, as community members, and as engaged citizens. Thank you all.
Thank you, Ross. We are indeed in good hands in terms of managing all of those aspects of our wonderful church. And now, Bob McCracken will give our treasurer's report and sure lead into the budget. Bob?
Thank you and good morning. Before I start with the numbers, I'd like to mention what is sort of a mea culpa, because I have quite a bit of input into the agenda for this meeting. And for the last several years, unfortunately, we've left off the music program. And I think in the future, we're going to remedy that. Is Simon here? Thought he was sticking around. At any rate, the music program requires some recognition. When I remember, I'm channeling Carlene here a lot when she mentions very frequently that the music of the choir is an integral and important part of the worship services every Sunday morning. We enjoy singing. We love it. We love the rehearsals. We love the leadership of Simon Holt. And we're having such a good time at it, I don't think many of us in the choir recognize how important, in fact, it is to the worship life of the church. I can't say enough for Simon Holt's leadership. He's truly a maestro. He's an internationally known organist and choral director, the founder of the Saltmarsh Opera Company. And his sense of humor really keeps us going. So we really enjoy that, and I think next year we'll make it a formal part of the meeting. I can't continue, however, without mentioning the other half of the music program, which is Gary Youngkite's Old Lyme Ringers, who have added another fantastic dimension to the music program of the church. Your skills in teaching people how to count, Gary, is extraordinary. And not only that, but he started Rebellion, which is the children's bell choir. So we have a vibrant music program, and I want to thank all the members of the choir, the members of the Old Lyme Ringers, and Gary and Simon. So to the numbers, I frequently make the comment that we leave the numbers till the end when everybody's too tired to pay attention to the details. But this year, the Treasurer's Report for 2025 is indeed a good one. My report begins on page 18, and the facing page, page 19, is the summary of the financial results for 2025. The bottom line should come first, which is that we finished the year 2025 with a surplus of $89,000. That's extraordinary in my experience. And it is driven this year, as it usually is, by the increasing generosity of the congregation. When you look on page 19, the left-hand column, which is outlined, the actual results for this year, and the next column over is the budget. And this extraordinary result really is the result of the increasing generosity of the congregation. But look on top, the fourth line, where we budgeted for total revenues for the year of $919,000 and wound up with slightly over $1 million. When you look down there at the bottom, then total expenses were pretty much right on budget, so that the cause of the surplus is really the increase in generosity of the congregation. The pledges and offering line at the top, you can see we budgeted $692,000 and wound up with $769,000. It's useful to turn the page briefly to page 20, where we break down the sources of the church's revenue. And you can see it's in three parts: pledges and offerings, interest and dividends, and other income. And of the $94,000 that we experienced over budget, you look on the pledges and offering line, and about $78,000 of that came from pledges and offerings. The very top line is a result of the stewardship campaign, where we had budgeted $550,000, and we collected $616,000. Now, some of that is maybe overly conservative budgeting, but it's an extraordinary result. The stewardship campaign in 2025 resulted in $637,000 of pledges, of which we actually collected $616,000. 98%. That is extraordinary. So thanks to the congregation for that. When you look at the expense lines, back on page 19, you can see that most of them fell right within budget. And total expense line at the bottom, budgeted $919,000, came in at $924,000. So there were no big surprises there. The property line, halfway down the page, was over budget by the biggest amount. We just had a plethora of repair and maintenance projects, that some of which we didn't expect. And the lay employees line, interestingly enough, is under budget. And that is basically because our office manager, Ann Koska, was out for more than 2 months with a broken leg, almost 3 months. And her compensation was picked up, a big part of her compensation was picked up by the Connecticut Paid Leave Program, which we contribute to as a church as a percentage of salary we pay to the state into this fund, which when the church then authorizes a medical absence, the Connecticut Paid Leave Fund picks up a great portion of that. The one other thing I want to mention in terms of revenues, if you'll turn the page again to page 20, the bottom third of the page, you'll see that under other income, we budgeted and booked a $76,000 surplus from the prior year. Some of that was an actual surplus from 2024, but embedded in there is a contribution from the endowment fund of $50,000, which the endowment fund contributed during COVID times. So we're carrying that over. But the interesting thing to note, probably for the first time, is that even without that $76,000 carryover, we would have had an operating surplus. So now we are, in my view, emerging from the COVID time. The generosity of the congregation is increasing. So as opposed to having had to depend on things like the payroll protection plan loans from the government during COVID, then there were 3 of those, and the contribution from the endowment, that from an operating standpoint, we're now truly self-sufficient and had an actual operating surplus. So I think that's really good news. When I get to the budget, I'll mention what we're going to do with that surplus. So that's the summary of 2025. Good news. Any questions, comments? There's a lot of numbers to throw at you, but it's kind of the way we need to keep the books. So I tried to give you an overview from 20,000 feet. If you'll let me get my... The next item on the agenda is now to take a look at the budget for 2026. And that report starts on page 30. But before we get there, I'd like you to focus on page 29, which is entitled A New Way to Look at the Church's Budget. Whenever we talk about financial results for the church, either operating results or budgets, we tend to focus, we do focus because we have to, on the accounting look at our books. Where does the revenue come from? Where do the expenses go? Salaries, property, insurance, repairs. And we have to do that, and that's an accounting look. But when we take a look at what those dollars accomplish, and we reallocate each of those dollars, we see that they are almost evenly divided among 6 fundamental ministries and missions of the church: worship, Christian education, pastoral care, music, community outreach, and mission outreach. That, I think, is the meaningful way to look at our church's finances, both operating and budget. Because this shows you that when you're giving money to the church, you're not just giving money to the church. Those funds are invested. They are actually invested in these ongoing and growing ministries. I would just like everybody to focus on that before we dig down into the detailed numbers. Now, before I get to the budget, as I usually do every year, I'd like to give a shout out to the administrative staff that keeps this place going. Ann Koska, our office manager. Julie Marjekage, our bookkeeper. Sean McCarty, sexton. Joni May, the church clerk and indispensable volunteer. And Bill Slavinsky, who is our property overseer. They do an extraordinary amount of work, and it's probably 90% under the radar, and you don't see it. But they accomplish an incredible amount of work. And the important thing for me, I feel so fortunate, because not only are these folks qualified for what they're doing, they like what they're doing, and they like each other, and they get along, and they cover for each other. So this makes my job as administrator almost a walk in the park for those people. So I'd like the minutes to show that we give them a round of applause. Thank you. And thanks to them. So the budget report starts on page 30, and we'll take a look at the overall numbers first and then look at why that happened. So on page 31, the budget for 2026 is in the middle column outlined, and budgeting $962,000 in revenues over the 9/19 of 2025. And we're projecting a balanced budget. Now, the important parts of that budget for 2026 are this. We are budgeting a $40,000 increase in income from pledges. And that's based on the favorable campaign in 2025. Remember, I mentioned it came in at $637,000. The campaign for 2026 is not over yet, and it's already at $634,000. Generosity of this congregation continues to just, it shouldn't amaze me. I know who you all are, but it's important. In terms of The interest and dividends is going to be a little higher than last year because of higher market interest rates from our holding accounts. Under other income, third line down on page 31, see, we're projecting $84,000, which is slightly under last year. If you turn over to page 32, where again we can look at the sources of revenue, under pledges and offerings, the very top line is that because of the very strong stewardship campaigns of the last 2 years, we're able to budget $590,000 from pledges over the $550 of this year. The interest and dividends account is up a little bit, as I mentioned, because of higher interest rates. The major part of that other income is the annual contribution from the endowment fund. And then under other income, there's the middle line there, carryover from prior year. We're projecting to budget 65,000 of that budget from this year into 2026. And the other part of that surplus that we didn't use in the budget, we're going to put over onto the balance sheet for major maintenance needs in 2026, which includes a major item of painting the parsonage. So, two important things in this budget which don't leap out from just looking at the numbers. We were able to budget for a 4% compensation increase for the staff, which is very important. In previous years, we've only been able to come up with a 2% increase, which does nothing to answer inflation. And a 4% increase doesn't go totally that way either, but it sure is a step in the right direction. And very importantly, on page 31, which I think Dale would be interested in, under total benevolences, the increased income performance for the church allows us to now allocate and budget $95,000 to mission benevolences, over $70,000 this year, $25,000 increase. I know Dale knows exactly where that's going to go. So the good news is a 4% increase for compensation and an increase of $25,000 for benevolence giving. That $95,000 is a very welcome increase that we're able to do. It doesn't still get back to the levels we were at in the mid 2010s. In 2016 and 17 and 18, it was higher than that. So we're not back on an inflation-adjusted basis to where we were then, but we're going in the right direction. So in terms of the numbers, any comments or questions? 2026 budget. There are two things that need to be in the minutes and that the congregation needs to include in their vote of approval. The first is that the IRS requires us to have the congregation approve housing allowance payments, in this case to both Carlene and Laura. And the IRS requires that the governing body, which is the congregation, approve that because those payments are income tax free. So that's part of what you will approve. The second thing that you need to approve is the contribution of the endowment fund to the operating operations of the church. Back on page 32, you can see that's $135,000 this year, which is typical of previous years. It turns out to be 5% of the principal value of the endowment. It's 5% actually of 3 years average in the past. But that 5% of the endowment is written into the endowment policy of the Board of Trustees. It's sensible contribution, we think, because based on the historic market performance of 8 or 9% in the equities, this leaves, it provides some money for the church, but it leaves some excess for growth as well. There's a separate 5%, which is in the bylaws, which says if the contribution from the endowment fund exceeds 5% of our budget, the congregation needs to approve that. So there are those two things built into your approval of the budget. Any other comments or questions? Bill, do you want to ask for a motion?
Sure, I'll do it right from here.
That's right.
I have my loud voice on. So I ask for a motion to approve the budget along with the housing allowance for clergy and the contribution from the endowment fund, which exceeds 5% of our
Budget.
actual budget. And we have a resolution from Kathy in the back. Motion, second?
Second.
Several seconds. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
So, in the capacity that I had as chair of the trustees a few years ago, we had to present not such an encouraging budget. So this is really great news. I would be remiss, though, if I did not publicly, I know he's been given some thanks. The gift we have in Bob McCracken is extraordinary, very extraordinary. And I've had the opportunity to witness this in so many different ways, because we think of him as doing the numbers and getting all of this, but every single aspect of our church, he has he's involved in. And we're just extremely, extremely fortunate. So thank you, Bob. At this time, we would ask you to please take a quick look at pages 52 to 54, which is the new officers, which we will be shortly electing. And as a member of the nominating committee, there are a lot of people who said yes. And that's kind of the way we keep going. We keep sustaining our important work by having some faith in the process and the future and coming up and saying yes. So the people listed here were all approached and all said yes. And before we approve that list, I would ask Allison Hine to please come forward for this year's reading of our Deacons Emeriti.
Thanks, Bill. It's my honor on behalf of the Board of Deacons to share the names of the two people who deacons have nominated for Deacon Emeriti this year. The first nominee is Mo Anktel. Mo is a master carpenter and craftsman, and he has for many years generously contributed his talents to make this church facility more beautiful. From the fence alongside the garden off Ferry Road and its arch on which the roses grow, to the frames for the Adelaide Harding biblical casts on the walls of Fellowship Hall, he has crafted beauty around us. And he has helped in countless more hidden projects, the refurbishment of the porch of the Pilgrim House and bookcases in Steve's study in the parsonage. Mo's work is all around us. Thank you, Mo. And the second nominee is Wendy Knight. Wendy's death just this past November stunned us. She was an integral part of the hospitality ministry of our church. She was selflessly generous with her time, planning, shopping, organizing all our coffee hours and special events. She worked tirelessly behind the scenes in many ways, but it is her constant presence at our social gatherings that has left what now seems to be a missing piece in the fabric of our social lives together. We will long remember her generous goodwill and her gentle, mothering, nurturing presence. The deacons present to you both Mo and Wendy as our deacon emeriti for the year 2025.
And now, do I have a motion to elect the officers, board members, and deacons emeriti as listed in the bulletin? Becky quickly raised her hand, and a second. Thank you, Rick. And all in favor? Aye. And we are official. Is there any, well, not officially ended, almost. They are officially elected. Is there any old business? Is there any new business? Before adjourning, I want to tell a 2-sentence story. Maybe it's 3. We moved here only 7.5 years ago. And every time, we live around the corner, every time we pass this church, my son would say, you and Mom are going to join that church. I don't know. And we would ride on. I can just tell you that I am so happy that he was right. I don't usually like to say my son is right, but I was so happy that, am so happy that he's right. This is just such an extraordinary place. Thank you for being a part of it and for making it the wonderful and welcoming church that it is. And I will officially adjourn us after Steve's benediction. Thank you.
It's been a good annual meeting. Are you all still awake out there? Yeah, well, listen, it really is good to hear the work of our boards and our committees. A lot of it is visible to many of you because you are the ones doing it, but it is what keeps us going. It's what keeps us humming. So let me say thank you to everybody for all the time and all the labor that you put in to making this faith community so vibrant. 2 things. I have this note that says, if you think it's appropriate, would you please announce the following? It is appropriate. I don't know whose handwriting it is, though. Is it? Oh, it's Eunice. Okay, yeah. So no, this is totally appropriate. So here's what Eunice has to say. Valentine's Day is this week. Or next week. It's soon. It's soon. Is it Saturday? Yeah, Saturday. Okay, so it is this week. So the partnership store is going to remain open for just a few minutes. after the meeting here in order to offer wonderful gifts and goods from Palestine, Haiti, tribal crafts, and the ladies who stitch. It is a guilt-free shopping experience. So, no, of course, we are all happy to support the partnership store. So, Eunice, thanks for that, and yeah, thank you. And then I also wish to close with two images. One is from Brazil during the Bolsonaro years, when especially poor communities were under a lot of duress. An image was created of hands holding on to one another, where it said, "No hand shall let go, or no one shall let go of anyone else's hand. No one shall let go of the hand of anyone else." And it's a perfect image for, I think, what we're going through right now, and I think for what our community needs to be. We cannot let go of one another's hands. And this connects to a short passage, a quote from Emily Dickinson that Carlene shared with me from one of Emily Dickinson's letters. So, this is our benediction. The world is just a little place, just the red in the sky before the sun rises. So let us keep fast hold of hands, that when the birds begin, none of us be missing. Isn't that great? All right, so no one lets go of the hand of anyone else. And when the birds begin, let us be holding hands so that none of us is missing. May that be our image. May that be what we practice. Go out into the world in peace. Amen. And thank you to everybody for your reports, and especially for all the good work.